Yo, what up, y'all? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another live stream. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get it cracking. All right, so shout out to everybody who is in the building early. It's good to see each and every one of you. If you guys can hear me okay and everything looks and sounds good, please give me a thumbs up or radiation emoji in the chat. If you guys cannot hear me or things are looking and sounding kind of bad, please give me a thumbs down or an angry face. While you guys are doing that, I'm going to shout out everybody that's in the building early, all right? Shout out to my man DeAndre for enforcing the likes. Definitely appreciate it, bro. Make sure y'all show DeAndre some love. Throw some like enforcers in the chat for him. Shout out to Miss Nisi. Good to see you as always, Miss Nisi. Shout out to my man, the specialist, and shout out to Sybil, all right? And shout out to everybody else who has not gotten a chance to type into the comment section yet. Good to see each and every one of you, all right? So we got to talk about this real quick, right? And this is kind of going to be like a precursor to the live stream that's going down tonight on Undocumented. We're going to go into this a little bit deeper, but you got to ask these questions, right? You got to ask these questions because when comparing candidates, when comparing situations, you got to itemize stuff. You got to do it line by line, all right? And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to do that based on the Biden-Harris response to Hurricane Helene, all right? And we're just going to ask some questions about how much sense does some of this stuff make, all right? Now, before we get into that, we're going to talk about this new hurricane that's about to pop off, all right? Shout out to Tedra. Make sure y'all show Tedra some love. Man, shout out to Tedra. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Tedra. Your boy was not being lazy today. Your boy actually made some new drops. And shout out to Tedra, because if she's showing love to the organization, then that means that she with the Fox shit.
He going along with the Fox shit. Don't touch me. I'm about to change on your ass. I'll beat your ass with my elbows. Werewolf style.
Shout out to Tedra for supporting the Fox shit.
He going along with the Fox shit. Don't touch me. I'm about to change on your ass. I'll beat your ass with my elbows, werewolf style.
Werewolf style.
How do you think that we fund this organization, huh? We're not exactly the March of Dimes.
Definitely appreciate you, Tedra. Tedra says, I've been on vacation, so I've missed the last few live streams. I'm back on track now. Hey, I appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoyed the content that you got a chance to catch up on. Hopefully you will enjoy the new and future content. Shout out to my man, Ryan Glenn. What's good with it, bro? All right, so anybody that's in Florida, you know what I'm saying, just be careful, be aware. There's a new hurricane that is on the way, and that hurricane is called Hurricane Milton. All right. DeSantis declares state of emergency in Polk and 34 other counties as storm strengthens. All right. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has declared a state of emergency in 35 counties, including Polk, as tropical storm Milton strengthens and is projected to reach hurricane strength Sunday night, which is tonight, with possible landfall along the west coast of Florida on Wednesday. The state of emergency includes these counties: Brevard, Broward, Charlotte, Citrus, Collier, DeSoto, Flagler, Glades, Hardy, Henry, Hernando, Highlands, Hillsborough, Indian River, Lake, Lee, Manatee, Marion, Martin, Miami-Dade, Monroe, Okeechobee, Orange, Osceola, Palm Beach, Pasco, Pinellas, Polk, Putnam, Sarasota, Seminole, St. John's, St. Lucie, Sumter, and Volusia. All right. In Polk County, sandbag sites will be open Sunday and Monday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. as the National Hurricane Center forecasts Milton to strengthen and bring risk of life-threatening impacts to portions of the west coast of Florida next week. Now, let me ask you guys this, right? Based on the response that the United States government had to Helene, what would you guys' advice be to the people in Florida? Shout out to Jay Bird. What's good with it, bro? Right. Shout out to DeAndre. DeAndre said Jaspo's drop is a perfect segue into the March of Dimes. Bro, facts. I'm telling you, shout out to Jaspo, man. My man Jaspo is a living drop factory. Like, I'm telling you, you could just chop up one of his entire streams, and like the whole stream you'll have like you'll be great on drops for like your next 2 or 3 live streams. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Shout out to Miss Nisi, right? Miss Nisi says, don't expect any help from FEMA. Facts. If you guys agree with Miss Nisi, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. Now, here's the thing, right? I don't know if you guys have seen, but the mainstream media is trying to get ahead of all this, and they're calling any information that is critiquing the pitfalls of FEMA mis or disinformation. We are going to show how it is not mis or disinformation. We are going to show how this is facts AF. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to DJ Elmo. What's good with you, bro? We're going to show how this is facts AF. All right? And shout out to everybody that's watching. I appreciate you guys. If you all haven't smashed the like button yet, please do me a favor. Take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys have not hit that bell, please take a moment, hit the bell, and also please share the stream to your social media. All right? So, Milton, tropical storm Milton, is currently located about 250 miles north of Veracruz, Mexico. Hurricane and storm surge watches are expected to be issued for portions of Florida on Sunday. National Weather Service forecasts are calling for 40% to 60% chance of rain in Lakeland for the next 4 days. All right. So now here's the Polk sandbag locations. And, you know, you only need to know this if you're down there. All right. A maximum of 10 pre-filled sandbags will be provided to each household to address each household address to help prevent water intrusion into homes. Bring a driver's license and show your local address. All right. So I don't know if people are aware, but I told you guys about that flood insurance. I used to work for this company that was an insurance company. They insured commercial fleets of trucks, and they also offered flood insurance. When you live in places that are in the natural path of hurricanes, that flood insurance can get extremely expensive. Shout out to Lanessa. I wouldn't disagree with that. Lanessa says Florida should vote not Democrat. If you guys agree with Lanessa, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. Now, next, what we're gonna do? Let me see. Hold on, real quick. We're gonna just take another look at this Hurricane Milton stuff, because they're saying that Hurricane Milton is supposed to be really bad when it graduates from Tropical Storm Milton to Hurricane Milton. All right. West Central Florida braces for Hurricane Milton, potentially the region's worst storm in 100 years. So, and again, based on what we've seen with the response to Hurricane Helene, if this is indeed going to be one of the worst hurricanes that Florida's seen in 100 years, good luck. You know what I'm saying? Less than 2 weeks after Hurricane Helene struck Florida's Big Bend, Milton is threatening to do the same, but given the state's distinctive coastline, the angle of landfall could allow the new storm system to be the worst in over 100 years for parts of West Central Florida. The area is certainly storm weary, having recently experienced impacts from Helene, Debbie, Ian, and I think this is Adalia. However, the Fox Forecast Center warns that the unique angle of approach makes the situation similar to what emergency managers have dreaded but prepared for over decades. All right. So now, again, shout out to Crew Reality. What's good with it, bro? Shout out to James Sumler. What's good with you? As far as the prep goes, I'm not too impressed with the prep. You know what I'm saying? During Helene, communities of South Florida's Big Bend experienced a storm surge of 5 to 8 feet on average, which was on the lower side of the spectrum due to the wind direction and the distance from the core of the Category 4 hurricane. A track that sends a hurricane over or just to the north of the Tampa-Sarasota metro means significantly more water will be piled up compared to previous cyclones. The west coast of Florida is spectacularly vulnerable to storm surge, as we have seen. Even a tropical storm can push Gulf water to dangerous heights, let alone a strong hurricane. It's critical that everybody in Central and South Florida stay well informed since things are developing quickly, said Fox Weather hurricane specialist Brian Norcross. During a Category 3 hurricane, a storm surge model known as SLOSH shows wide areas of Hillsborough, Pinellas, and Pasco counties under feet of water. All right, so here's the map of the storm system right here. All right. Yeah, shout out to James. I wouldn't disagree with that. If you guys agree with James, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. James said the Democrats should lose this election by this crisis alone, besides everything else. Yeah, facts. And, if you ask me, people should be extremely weary of the media as a result of this. You know what I'm saying? They should absolutely be weary of the media as a result of this. So now here it says, due to topography of the shoreline, a water level rise of more than 9 feet can be expected if a major hurricane follows the worst case scenario for the metro. Trajectories significantly to the north or south of the metro lead to greatly altered outcomes, scenarios that some Floridians have experienced in recent years. Hurricanes Adalia and Helene made landfall around 130 miles north of Tampa and produced storm surges on the order of 3 to 8 feet around the metro, due in part to the southerly flow. On the flip side, Hurricane Ian in 2022 triggered a northeast flow over the region during its landfall near Fort Myers. All right. So we talked about these bags and all of this stuff that they got popping off over in Florida for Tropical Storm Milton graduating to Hurricane Milton. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about some things with this FEMA situation. All right. So shout out to Undocumented, right? With this FEMA situation, FEMA is saying there's no money left. FEMA's saying that there's no money left. Now, how many of you guys believe that? If you guys believe that there's no money left, give me a thumbs up. If you guys think that there is money left, then give me a thumbs down. Shout out to Miss Nisi. Miss Nisi says, question, Rob, why would you want to live in a state prone to hurricanes? I'll tell you what, nightlife. That would be my answer, because I'll tell you what, but if somebody gave me now, I'm ending the stream and I'm leaving, and I'll start the stream back up once I get to Miami, probably a couple hours after I kick it. You know what I'm saying? I'll take the chances on a hurricane. You know what I'm saying? But I don't expect my logic to be everybody's logic. You know what I'm saying? I don't expect my logic to be everybody's logic. So most people would probably be like, nah, I'm cool on that. I'm cool on that. You know what I'm saying? And now, Florida is also prone to water level rises, right? Yeah, and shout out to Ryan Glenn. Ryan Glenn says, if you understand economics and sovereign debt, you know that they're lying. Facts. Shout out to DeAndre. DeAndre says the left is calling it divine ethnic cleansing, which is wild, right? That's a wild statement to make. And Republicans vote against their own interest because their presidential nominee calls climate change a hoax. And these canes are due to it. Yeah, facts. Shout out to Jada Informant. What's good with it? Yeah, facts. And not only are the hurricanes due to it, there's literal scientific proof of water level rise, especially in Florida, especially in South Florida, Miami in particular, right? That's undeniable, right? So, whatever they want to say about the climate change or whatever, there are still geographic condition changes that are affecting those areas that they just deny. You know what I mean? So, guess what? Feds say there's no money left to respond to hurricanes after FEMA spent $1.4 billion on migrants. All right. So, look, we're going to take a look at this video here. All right. So, what they're saying is that because of faulty spending, in relation to the migrant crisis, no money for the people affected by these hurricanes. And, if something does affect people as a result of Hurricane Milton, like it probably will, no money for them. Shout out to Win Lose a Rug. Shout out to Sybil. Shout out to Black Spider. What's good with y'all? All right. So let's see what they're talking about here.
Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas sounding the alarm on FEMA funding right after the devastation of Hurricane Helene. Listen.
We are meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have. We are expecting another hurricane hitting. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
This all comes as the Biden-Harris administration spent over $1 billion from a FEMA program on services for migrants.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys saw TD Media Group's most recent live stream that he did, but he actually he actually showed that with receipts. So if you guys haven't seen TD Media Group's most recent stream, make sure you guys take a moment and check that out, because he actually proved this with receipts. Now, I'm going to talk about this in a little bit of a different way than he did, because I have some other things that I want to show you guys. All right. Just remember that they say they don't have the money. Right. Just remember that what they're saying is that they don't have the money. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas set off outrage Wednesday when he told reporters that the Federal Emergency Management Agency does not have the funds to see Americans through the rest of this Atlantic hurricane season, after the agency spent more than $1.4 billion since the fall of 2022 to aid the migrant crisis. Okay? Not a good, right? Not a good at all. You know what I'm saying? We are meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but apparently they have these, like $750 vouchers, and people are getting or applying for at least these $750 vouchers. In many cases, a lot of these individuals, a lot of these people are getting denied, right? $750 is going to help you do what exactly? What is your entire life has been destroyed in front of your eyes. What is $750 going to do? You know what I'm saying? We are meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have, Mayorkas said during a press gaggle on Air Force One en route to tour damage from Hurricane Helene in South and North Carolina. Now, I wouldn't even say that they're meeting immediate needs. They're not meeting any needs at all. And honestly, if you ask me, I think what's going on is that people are just getting upset and annoyed with the situation. I don't think that they're meeting any needs at all. If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. Mayorkas said during a press conference on Air Force One en route to tour the damage from Hurricane Helene and South and North Carolina. We are expecting another hurricane hitting, he added. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season and what is imminent. So what does that mean? Where's the tax money been going? You know what I'm saying? How do you, man, listen, there now, what administration is responsible for this? Whose administration is responsible for this? Shout out to Jesse Pears. What's good with it, bro? Now, if you ask me, this was an opportunity, right? This was a wonderful opportunity to show us how, as a leader, Kamala Harris would think on her feet and save the United States from these imminent natural disasters that are tearing apart communities nationwide, right? It's an opportunity. However, instead of the opportunity being seized to do that, the opportunity was seized to verify and validate the fact that people in the United States who pay taxes into this country under this administration or under any administration led by one of the two current sitting people now will not prioritize you. This has solidified that fact. That is no longer speculation. That is now an undeniable, usable fact. If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down. Now, how does FEMA not have any money? And here's another question. Let's just say FEMA doesn't have any money. Aren't there other agencies that the money can be rerouted from in case of an emergency? Isn't there an emergency budget diversion protocol? Right? Isn't that what happens? Guess not in this case, right? Critics pointed out that the Department of Homeland Security allocated $640.9 million this year in FEMA-administered funds to aid state and local governments coping with the influx of asylum seekers. Now, you know, I don't encourage quote-unquote anti-immigrant sentiments, right? However, I'm not justifying anything that people might do, but do you understand, like, do people see how watching the government do this can create anti-immigrant sentiment? I mean, is that a stretch to say? If that's a stretch to say, you know what I'm saying? You know, by all means, correct me, right? But I don't think that that's a stretch to say. I think that when people see stuff like this, this is when things start to fester. This is when people's blood starts to boil. This is when all of the negative sentiments that somebody might have or that they might not have had start to develop and turn into a real thing. So when it comes to quote unquote sentiments and anti-immigrant sentiments and all of this in the United States, you got to ask the question, how much of that did the United States government itself contribute to? How much of that did the United States itself contribute to? Then if you make content like this where you point these things out, somehow this turns you into a xenophobe. This is literally what an accountant would do at their job. If they had certain cost centers and there was ABC costing model, they would have to allocate certain amounts of money to different cost centers, right? If there's an accountant that manages the federal government's money, right? FEMA would be a cost center that certain amount of taxpayer dollars was allocated to. Also, aid for United States citizens, United States taxpayers, right? migrants, whoever else, foreign aid, whatever, those are all cost centers. Now, if you ask me, in a ABC model, excuse me, in an ABC model of accounting, right? Shout out to James Hudson and shout out to Main Chick. What's good with y'all? Shout out to AW1. What's good with it, bro? In a model of ABC costing, in the United States government, the people who invest into the United States government, the people who pay into it, they should always be prioritized first. It shouldn't even be a question. We're the reason why the government has its lifeblood, its currency, right? Apparently, the current administration and many administrations and a lot of people who are on the side of the party of the current administration, for whatever reason, don't agree with that. They don't agree with that. Here's my question. How can you not agree with that? Who should be the priority? You know what I mean? How do you if the people paying the tax money are not the priority, well then how do we create and define a priority? And by those definitions, who should be the priority? And how is that xenophobic? You know what I'm saying? To ask those kind of questions. And shout out to DeAndre for enforcing the likes. I appreciate you, bro. If you guys haven't smashed the like button yet, please do me a favor. Take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, and also please share the stream to your social media. Now, let me ask you this. Based on how this entire situation has been handled, based on how this has been dealt with, is this a show of competency or is this a show of incompetency? Which one? So now here it says Mayorkas office fired back late Thursday, insisting that those funds couldn't be used for hurricane relief because Congress authorized them specifically for the migrant crisis. Okay, well, why did they authorize them for them? Why did they authorize them for the migrant crisis? This is easy. Mayorkas and FEMA immediately stopped spending money on illegal immigration, resettlement, and direct those funds to areas hit by the hurricane. Put Americans first. Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott tweeted Wednesday in response to the DHS chief. And then, of course, Elon Musk, who, speaking of, you know what I'm saying, drowning, his businesses are drowning. Yeah, agreed Elon Musk, the billionaire owner of X and CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, the billionaire who's trying very hard to get an apprenticeship with Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? Got to make sure we throw that in there, right? Abbott is a top critic of Mayorkas' mass parole of asylum seekers into the U.S. after President Biden repudiated former President Donald Trump's Remain in Mexico policy, with the governor busing migrants to Democrat-led jurisdictions such as New York City, forcing local budget cuts to house them. Over 2 years, more than $1.4 billion has been committed from FEMA administered programs to support non-federal entities that are taking care of migrants. Now, this is a dumb question, right? But we got to keep asking the dumb questions because we're dealing with dumb politicians. If that $1.4 billion had not been spent on the migrant crisis, do you think that the response to Hurricane Helene might be better and more efficient? Let me know what you guys think. DHS allocated $780 million for the migrant crisis last year, initially through the FEMA Emergency Food and Shelter Program, which funds relief not associated with natural disasters, and then through the new FEMA Shelters and Services Program, which was authorized in late 2022 by Congress to respond to the migrant crisis. So they created specific cost centers within FEMA to respond to the migrant crisis. Shout out to Leonard and shout out to Deneen and shout out to DC. What's good with y'all? Good to see y'all. Now, they're calling this misinformation. You know what I mean? But it gets worse, though. Like they say, like a good YouTuber always says, in order to see how it gets worse, make sure you watch this stream, or if you're watching the replay, this video, all the way through to the end, right? The $640.9 million spent this year comes solely from the Shelter and Services Program. So now, of course, DHS is saying these claims are completely false. DHS said in a statement Thursday to Fox News following the Republican outcry. As Secretary Mayorkas said, FEMA has the necessary resources to meet the immediate needs associated with Hurricane Helene and other disasters. That's not what Secretary Mayorkas said, though. Again, we literally just read what Secretary Mayorkas said. Is that what Secretary Mayorkas said? He didn't say that. What did Secretary Mayorkas say? The Shelter and Services Program is a completely separate, appropriated grant program that was authorized and funded by Congress and is not associated in any way with FEMA's disaster-related authorities or funding streams. Why was this even set up? That money that is being allocated to that program should be allocated for what FEMA is. What does FEMA stand for? Federal Emergency Management Agency. I would say that a hurricane that has displaced multiple people is an emergency. Right? You know what I mean? So now here it says it's unclear if federal officials have the power to redirect migrant-focused funds to natural disaster victims, which is wild. Why is that not built in? The original program from which migrant funds flowed aimed to alleviate homelessness. Now, were they even used for homelessness? So, again, we can still use the same argument, right? We still got homeless people. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to AW1. Yo, AW1 wants the Reaper's YouTube channel. If somebody could drop that link to the Reaper, you know what I'm saying, in there for AW1, because AW1 is all about the fuck shit.
He going along with the fuck shit. Don't touch me. I'm about to change on your ass. I'll beat your ass with my elbows. Werewolf style.
And, as far as this, response to, the hurricanes and all that, you know what I'm saying? We got to shout out to Reaper again. The federal government, they responding to this crisis.
Just like a woman. That's because some of you niggas, you be acting just like a woman. Reaper keep it 1,000.
Yeah, Reaper kept it 1,000, but FEMA did not. You know what I'm saying? FEMA did not keep it 1,000, but they kept it over $1 billion with them migrant. No. You know what I'm saying? They definitely kept it over $1 billion with them migrant. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says the original program from which migrant funds flowed aimed to alleviate homelessness. But again, how much homelessness was alleviated by these programs? This is a question that we got to ask. With 1983 legislation setting up the Emergency Food and Shelter Program, calling for projects and activities in civil jurisdictions with high unemployment or in labor surplus areas or political units or in pockets of poverty. None of that describes anything about dealing with an incoming migrant crisis. Right? The December 2022 funding bill authorizes the split-off program for spending on migrants, vaguely described the purpose as for providing shelter and other services to families and individuals encountered by the Department of Homeland Security. Now, we got to talk about this weaponization of being vague, right? Hey, shout out to Shaka Nulu. What's good with you, bro? Yep, I got you, bro. Appreciate you being here. You know what I'm saying? So, what does this mean? And again, this even ties into, right? This even ties into how the undocumented bros are loosely related to the box bros, right? And we kind of alluded to this. I haven't really had a chance to cover the homeless crisis and the housing crisis and all this stuff, right? But you guys can connect some of this stuff on your own. You know what I mean? So now here it says a relatively paltry $4 million has been paid. Look at this. $4 million has been paid directly to the families and individuals in the week since Hurricane Helene ravaged the Southeast, deleting at least 202 people, and I think the count is up, causing severe flooding damage from Florida to North Carolina, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said on Thursday. Now, let me ask y'all this. Is there anybody who has ever dealt with flood insurance? That's what we call the migrants. Shaka, we call them the undocumented bros. We call them the undocumented bros. You know what I'm saying? So $4 million. What's the policy limits on hurricane insurance? What's the average policy limit on hurricane insurance? The reason why I'm asking, right, is because if I'm not mistaken, when it comes to commercial trucks, the minimum insurance coverage is $1 million. If I'm not mistaken, it's $1 million per vehicle. But don't quote me. It's been a minute since I've underwritten a policy, right? If I'm not mistaken, I think that flooding is either $1 million or $2 million. Don't quote me. It might be less, and it might be less for residential. I worked in the capacity of commercial, so it might be a little bit different. $4 million has been paid to all of the people. So this $4 million has been spread across all of the victims of Hurricane Helene. There is no way that that's going to help with anything. And honestly, a lot of these areas that are dealing with these issues, they don't even have electricity or running water. Some of these people can't even get onto the internet in order to be able to access the funds or even apply for this stuff. And a lot of these people that are applying for this are getting rejected. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says those funds are from a $10 million FEMA allocation that allows storm victims grants of $750 for groceries. Now, $750 for groceries. Let me ask y'all this. Let's see how good y'all memory is. How much money was directly deposited onto the ATM cards, the Visa MasterCard logo, debit cards that they gave the migrants in New York City? More than $750, right? More than $750. But FEMA only gave shout out to DC Precise, $3,000 to $5,000. Shout out to Jesse, $4,500. They only gave from FEMA. Now, this is from FEMA. $750 for groceries. Where they going to buy groceries at? You know what I'm saying? So now here it says Biden said Wednesday during an operational briefing on Hurricane Helene in North Carolina that it's going to cost billions of dollars to deal with this storm and all the communities affected. And the Congress has an obligation to ensure states have the resources that they need. Okay, that sounds good, but Mayorkas said that there's no money left. The lack of available FEMA funds stoked outrage among congressional Republicans who are not due back in session until after Election Day. The Biden-Harris administration took more than $1 billion tax dollars that had been allocated to FEMA for disaster relief and used it to house illegal aliens, fumed Representative Jim Jordan. Now they've abandoned American hurricane victims in North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, and Tennessee. Representative Tim Burchett, whose district neighbors the disaster zone, tweeted, FEMA spending over $1 billion on illegal while they leave Americans stranded and without help is treasonous. U.S. citizens are dying. Pray for our country, folks. Now, here's my thing, right? Again, these funds should be locked up and should be allocated and used for taxpayers only. So here's the thing, right? You talk about this, and then the critique comes. We now have to critique the current administration. You can't critique Kamala Harris. If you critique Kamala Harris, then there must be some other issue than the data that we're looking at. It can't possibly be because of the information that we're talking about. There's got to be some other issue that you have with Kamala Harris. Okay, well, what if we just don't mention Kamala Harris and we talk about Biden? We can't not talk about Kamala Harris because Kamala Harris is Biden's vice president. They are working, or at least claim to be, or at least are supposed to be, working on this situation together. If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If y'all would disagree, give me a thumbs down. So now, here it says Representative Eli Crane added the Biden administration spent over $1 billion on funding illegal aliens. America last. Connect the dots if you can, wrote Tim Murtaugh, an advisor to former President Donald Trump's campaign. DHS says FEMA might not have enough cash to help people through hurricane season, but in 2 years of a new Biden-Harris program, they've spent $1 billion on housing and other services for migrants. And again, now mind you, what they allocated this money away from the disaster part of FEMA was not even for migrants. It was supposed to be for homeless people. But they can change these definitions and say, well, the migrants were homeless, right? The same way they did with the right to shelter law in New York City. So, of course, FEMA did not immediately respond to the post request for comment. And that's because they're busy saving people's lives, right? They're too busy saving people's lives to be able to respond to any type of comments that we might have, right? So, you know, I don't really want to go too deep into this, right? Because I'm going to be talking about this more on Undocumented tonight, all right? So shout out to the people that are subscribed to Undocumented. If you guys are not subscribed to Undocumented, do me a favor, take a moment and subscribe to Undocumented, all right? If one of the mods could put the link to Undocumented in the chat, I would greatly appreciate it. 12:55 tonight, we're going to dive into this a lot deeper, all right? As far as on the migrant crisis and exactly what's going on. Now, in the midst of all of this happening, they don't have any money for people in the United States, but Kamala Harris announces $385 million, mind you, which is more than the $4 million that's already gone out, in aid for Lebanon because of a humanitarian crisis. Now, let's look at this current situation right here. People in America have just suffered from a hurricane landfall. There's another hurricane on the way that's supposed to touch down tonight. We're out of money for those people. Kamala Harris, with a smile on her face, announces $385 million in aid for Lebanon for a humanitarian crisis. Somebody make it make sense. Oh, well, you know, FEMA doesn't have the money. Okay, so what? Find the money somewhere else. Literally nobody's going to be okay with this. Shout out to the title. Kamala Harris making this announcement. If you ask me, if most people have a functioning brain in their head, this should be campaign suicide for her. If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down. This should be campaign suicide. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to you, Law. I appreciate it, bro. This should be campaign suicide. So now here it says Vice President Kamala Harris announced in a statement on Friday that the United States will provide nearly $157 million in additional humanitarian aid to Lebanon. Okay. The funding will address growing needs of civilians affected by the country's ongoing humanitarian crisis. What about the ongoing humanitarian crisis that's going on right here? Shout out to Cindy. What's good with it, Cindy? And shout out to Last Not Late. How do you classify this type of decision? How do you justify this type of decision? Is this logical? Is this rational? Yeah, facts. Shout out to my man U-Law. U-Law said, I'm here lurking, bro, since 2019. Facts. Shout out to my man U-Law. Good to see you, bro. How do you justify this? So my question is, who would feel comfortable with this type of logic being utilized as the logic leading the country? We're already living under this kind of logic leading the country. How's it working out? How's it working out? You know what I mean? This comes just days after the U.S. Department of Homeland Security said it does not have enough money to get through the hurricane season after the vice president announced $750 per person in aid for victims of Hurricane Helene. The new assistance package will be allocated toward essential needs such as food, shelter, water, protection, and sanitation, according to Harris, which is probably literally every single one of those things, something that those people in North Carolina or other areas that have been affected by, Hurricane Helene could use. That, they could use all of that, right? But instead of providing that for the people here, they're going to provide it for people elsewhere. I don't even know if Lebanon is are they even political allies of ours? Or, is there any type of attachment or any type of contract or any type of agreement that requires us to have to provide them any aid? I don't understand that. This aid is intended to support those displaced by the recent conflict and other vulnerable populations across Lebanon. All right, so here goes the official tweet from Kamala Harris, right? So we're going to take a look at this official tweet. All right. We're going to take a look at the official tweet. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull it up. And shout out to everybody that's watching. I appreciate you guys. If you all haven't smashed the like button yet, please do me a favor. Take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys have not hit the bell, please take a moment, hit that bell, and also please share the stream to your social media. All right, so here goes the tweet. All right. The people of Lebanon are facing an increasingly dire humanitarian situation. Okay. I am concerned about the security and well-being of civilians suffering in Lebanon and will continue working to help meet the needs of all civilians there. To that end, the United States will provide nearly $157 million in additional assistance to the people of Lebanon for essential needs such as food, shelter, water, protection, and sanitation to help those who have been displaced by the recent conflict. This additional support brings total U.S. assistance to Lebanon over the last year to over $385 million. How nice. I don't know if I really would have. I don't know if I really, first and foremost, I just wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have done that. The Americans would have got the money first and foremost, right? Second of all, if I was going to do something like that, after the secretary just made the announcement that we don't have any money, I'm for sure not about to be going around, all loud on Twitter to all of my Twitter, supporters saying, hey, y'all, I know y'all dealing with a hurricane over there, but look what we just did for Lebanon. Are you crazy? People got to be heated about that. People got to be heated about that. Kamala Harris, she with the fuck shit.
He going along with the fuck shit. Don't touch me. I'm about to change on your ass. I'll beat your ass with my elbows. Werewolf style.
Oh, yeah. She definitely with the fuck shit. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the Reaper. The aid is intended to support those displaced by the recent conflict and other vulnerable populations across Lebanon. This latest funding brings the total U.S. aid to Lebanon over the past year to more than $385 million. How many of y'all knew that the United States had spent $385 million on Lebanon over the past year? How many of y'all knew that? I didn't. And believe it or not, on this channel, we keep track. We keep track of that spending. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't know that. So now it says reflecting continued U.S. engagement in addressing the humanitarian challenges in the region. The vice president expressed, quote unquote, concern over the security and well-being of civilians amid the deteriorating situation. What about the deteriorating United States as a result of these natural disasters? You know what I'm saying? Lebanon has been grappling with political instability, economic collapse, and a strained infrastructure, exacerbating the humanitarian needs in the country. International organizations have called for increased aid to address this crisis. We will continue working to help meet the needs of all civilians there, Harris said in her statement. Now, how do y'all think that people who are dealing with this hurricane feel about that? How do you think that people who are dealing with this hurricane feel about that? Yeah, shout out to I like that. I like the name. Anita Hug. You know what I'm saying? Anita Hug says, mind you, on the 23rd of September, President Zelensky of Ukraine got another $385 million again. Yeah, facts. Shout out to DeAndre. You got AW1. I appreciate you, bro. Shout out to DC. DC Precise got it. He threw it in there. So in addition to all of that, right? And that's a great question. Shout out to Main Chick. I'm going to ask y'all this question. Who is the Biden administration showing that the priority is? So you got to ask the question. If we bring this question up and we ask this question to these people who are in charge, their performance on how they deal with who the people who are supposed to be the priority is should be what earns them their votes. Right? And if you ask me, the Biden-Harris administration cannot show that they've made Americans their number one priority. They can't show that. And even if they do show instances where they have prioritized Americans in situations where Americans really need them, they've failed. They failed based on disparities. They failed based on natural disasters. Do you guys remember when that chemical spill happened in East Palestine? The response was criticized about that. Shout out to Kirk. What's good with you, bro? So, in addition to that money that they gave Lebanon, right? There's other money that they spent that people are not really talking about, right? How many people knew about this? Biden-Harris administration faces delays in $42 billion internet expansion initiative. They spent $42 billion on the internet. Just to say that if you criticize them on the internet, it's misinformation. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Faith. What's good with it, Faith? All right. The Biden administration has faced significant delays. Now, again, this is not an old article, right? This isn't an old article. As you guys can see here, October 5th of 2024. Okay, look at this. Biden administration threw over $40 billion at an internet bailout. 3 years later, not a single project is underway. That's money that could have went to FEMA, right? That's money that could have went to FEMA, but it didn't. You know what I'm saying? The Biden-Harris administration has faced significant delays in its efforts to expand broadband internet access, despite allocating over $42 billion from the 2021 bipartisan infrastructure law. $42 billion. The initiative aimed to provide internet to the underserved rural areas, but 3 years later, no projects have commenced. Where'd the money go then? Where did the money go? Where Jada informant at? It sounds like the Biden administration, them trying to build a school, don't it? The only thing that I know that causes this much of an issue with these large amounts of money is actually putting a school up. You know, regulatory hurdles, including requirements for internet providers to engage in green initiatives, employ unionized labor, have delayed federal subsidies, which are not expected to reach projects until 2025. So the money is just, it's in limbo. Republican lawmakers, including Senator John Toon, have criticized the program's lack of progress, noting that no individuals have been connected under the Broadband Equity, Access, and Deployment Program, BEAD. All right. Additional challenges have come from lengthy state application processes and disputes over pricing for low-cost plans. The slow pace has drawn comparisons to other infrastructure initiatives, such as the electric vehicle charging program, which has also faced delays. The U.S. Department of Commerce has not responded to requests for comment on the program's status. All right. President Joe Biden's 2021 bipartisan infrastructure law earmarked tens of billions of taxpayer dollars for expanding broadband internet. Yet more than 3 years later, not a single project is underway. Let me ask y'all this. How many of you all would consider this a waste of money? If you would consider this a waste of money, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would not consider this a waste of money, then give me a thumbs down. And shout out to everybody that's watching. I appreciate you guys. If you all haven't smashed the like button yet, please do me a favor. Take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, please take a moment, hit that bell, and also please share the stream to your social media. All right. The The $1.2 trillion law earmarked over $42 billion to provide internet access in underserved, mostly rural areas, with Biden once describing the initiative as not unlike what Roosevelt did with electricity. I would say that this is very different than what Roosevelt did with electricity. However, not a single project funded by the initiative has broken ground. Not a single one. With federal subsidies not expected to reach projects until 2025, largely due to a slew of regulatory hurdles, such as requirements for internet providers to participate in green initiatives and employ unionized workers. In 2021, Kamala Harris became the broadband czar. She's czars of a lot of. Do you guys notice a pattern with anything that Kamala Harris is a czar of? It seems like if Kamala Harris is the czar of something, that stuff ain't getting done. Shout out to Ryan Glenn. Ryan Glenn with the fuck shit.
He going along with the fuck shit. Don't touch me. I'm about to change on your ass. I'll beat your ass with my elbows. Werewolf style.
Yeah, Ryan Glenn definitely going along with the fuck shit. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the Reaper. Ryan said, sounds like Akon is running these programs. Yeah, it does. You know what I'm saying? Sounds like Akon man. You know what I'm saying? A convict. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Definitely sounds like Akon is running these programs. Or here's another one, right? It sounds like these programs are Akon. Right? I think I'm gonna have to join you in the fuck shit.
He going along with the fuck shit. Don't touch me. I'm about to change on your ass. I'll beat your ass with my elbows. Werewolf style.
I'm gonna have to join Ryan Glenn in the fuck shit. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says Republican South Dakota Senator John Toon wrote in a post on X on September 24th, 3 years and $42 billion later, not one person has been connected to the internet under the BEAD program. That's bad. Now, that's something that should have came up at the debate. Should have definitely came up at the debate. Nobody mentioned any of that, though. Neither side. These would have been direct hits for Trump and Vance had they mentioned this stuff. So now here it says another challenge comes from applicants having to demonstrate how the internet plans they provide using the federally subsidized infrastructure will be affordable for Americans with household incomes at or below 200% of the poverty line. Virginia's application process, for example, took more than 10 months due to a dispute between the state and the federal government over a price cap for low-cost plans. The White House's pace of implementation has drawn scrutiny from Republican lawmakers, with the House Energy and Commerce Committee launching an investigation into National Telecommunications and Information Administration's handling of the initiative. The broadband expansion program has also drawn comparisons to the Biden-Harris administration's electronic vehicle charger expansion initiative that, as of 2024, had built just 7 stations despite the $7.5 billion the November 2021 bipartisan infrastructure law allocated to it. So, again, with a lot of these projects, the money is just sitting there. Oh, shout out to DeAndre. DeAndre said Trump did hit her with that. AW1 said, hey, Rob, you got to do a live stream with that brother one day. Yo, if the Reaper want to come on Just Talking with TD and Rob, you know what I'm saying? The Reaper, come chop it up and keep it 1,000 on Just Talking with TD and Rob. Or reacts, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Definitely would be down, you know what I'm saying? I'm definitely being a podcast goat that episode. I'm falling back. Falling back on that one, you know what I'm saying? The EV charger expansion program was delayed in part due to diversity, equity, and inclusion requirements, with the Department of Transportation saying applicants should promise to engage in intentional outreach to underserved communities by, quote unquote, hosting neighborhood block parties. They sound crazy. They sound crazy. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Kirk. Make sure y'all show Kirk some love. Throw some flames, some radiation emoji, and some ducks in the chat for Kirk for funding the organization.
How do you think that we fund this organization, huh? We're not exactly the March of Dimes.
Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar bill, yo.
shout out to I got you, Kirk. I got you. Kirk said our government loves these dumb blank acronyms. They don't care about us and cry broke, blatantly redistributing our kindness elsewhere. See, there you go. We put that O in there. Boom, we got you. You know what I'm saying? Blatantly redistributing our kindness elsewhere. See, I got you, bro. I got you. The EV charger expansion program was delayed in part due to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, of course, they're going to blame DEI requirements, which they didn't need to put DEI requirements on this stuff anyway. With the Department of Transportation saying applicants should promise to engage in, quote unquote, intentional outreach to underserved communities by hosting neighborhood block parties. I mean, really? Neighborhood block parties. Come get your Hennessy and a job. Like, for real? Seriously? Shout out to Vega. What's good with it, Vega? Seriously? That's what we doing? The Biden administration has been layering a partisan political agenda on top of this $42.45 billion program, a liberal wish list that has nothing to do with connecting Americans. Brendan Carr, the former head of the Federal Communications Commission, wrote in a June X post, climate change mandates, tech biases, DEI requirements, favoring government-run networks, and more. The U.S. Department of Commerce did not immediately respond to a request for comment. All right. So again, look at where all this money went, right? And now the United States is in a situation where, you know, it's like people could use that money, right? And the United States government, they like, sorry, we don't have any money. Shout out to Antithesis. What's good with it, bro? They like, we don't have any money for y'all. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I got to agree with Scoop. Shout out to Scoop. Scoop said this administration is a bunch of failures. Facts. If y'all agree with Scoop, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. So I don't know if y'all heard about this, right? But they just doing all kinds of weird stuff with this whole situation. There was a pilot allegedly flying rescue missions in North Carolina, and they threatened dude with arrest. Did y'all? If y'all heard about that, give me a thumbs up. If y'all didn't hear about that, give me a thumbs down. It's a lot of weird stuff going on with this, but it's always weird stuff going on with the Biden administration because they're crazy. You know what I'm saying? So here it says, when Jordan Seedholm woke up Saturday morning, he saw a Facebook post that tens of thousands of people were commenting on and sharing. A family was stranded on a mountain in Banner Elk, North Carolina. They had run out of water a day earlier and had just enough food to last 2 days. Seedholm, the former head of Chesterfield County Sheriff Office Narcotics Unit, knows a thing or two about finding people. He researched the mountain chain where the family was located and found a place to land using his mapping software. All right, so let's just check this out real quick. And it's probably going to be I figure it's going to be of course, 15-second advertisement. Real quick, if y'all haven't smashed the like button yet, please do me a favor. Take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, please take a moment, hit that bell, and also please share this stream to your social media. All right, let me see. Hold on. Here we go. Let's check this out real quick.
Now being shared days after Helene wreaked havoc in North Carolina. But one Pageland man's efforts to help are now the source of controversy. He flew his own chopper on his own dime to help stranded victims. But that man says he abandoned his rescue missions after a fire official threatened to have him thrown in jail. Well, that man now wants answers and turned to Queen City News chief investigator Jody Barr to help figure out what went wrong here.
This is the original post that I was reading when I decided to go up and help. It's a long post, but she's saying that her kids and family and animals are trapped. No way out, no supplies, and the only way in or out is accessible by helicopter. Limited cell service and no water since Friday morning. I thought I have a helicopter and maybe I can help.
Jordan Sidham piled food and water into his helicopter Saturday and headed up toward Banner Elk, the only way through a mountain gap in Lake Lure.
This is the mountain valley that you would have to fly to get to Black Mountain, where we were escorting people out. This is a mountain range, and this is a mountain range. The only place to fly through with bad visibility, low cloud coverage, is Lake Lure.
The cries for help from people stranded without food, water, or electricity hit social media soon after the flooding last Friday.
But my parents are stuck there. Their address is Banner Elk. They are in the first condo. If you receive this, please give me a call back. Thank you.
Sidham's phone started lighting up on Saturday with people begging for help.
I could hear the desperation in her voice. This is multiple phone calls I've received like this, voicemails, text messages, and you could hear people desperate for help.
Sidham and his son rescued 4 people on Saturday and spent the night in a nearby pilot's lounge, then decided to fly again Sunday morning.
I spoke with my son, which is my co-pilot. I said, hey, do you want to go back out and try to help today? And his response was, there's so many messages, I don't think we can't not go help.
Sidham and his son were headed up to Black Mountain. Flight tracking shows no flight restrictions in place Saturday or Sunday morning when Sidham flew through the Lake Lure Gap. But that was all about to change. The Sidham spotted an older couple waiting for help, then landed in what's left of their driveway.
Hey, I want you to let me get in. You step out and go out, help her in, put her bag in the back, get her strapped in. I'm going to take her down, come back. I'll take him, I'll come back, and then I'll get you, okay?
I originally left my son, co-pilot, on the side of the mountain. It was kind of unstable, so I didn't want to put more weight in the helicopter to lift back off. So I left my son with the other victim, and I was just going to take one person down at the time. And you could hear me in the video talking through with the victims and with my son what we're going to do.
3 minutes away, Sidham spotted a group of rescuers just down the river. He landed and found someone in charge.
Told him my background experience, law enforcement, firefighting, pilot. He immediately started helping with coordination. He gave me radio frequencies to coordinate with them on, set up a landing area for me to come back with the other victim. And in the middle of the whole conversation and then blocking the road off, I was greeted by the at that time, I didn't know, but Lake Lure fire chief or assistant chief maybe, and he shut down the whole operation. So at that point, I felt like the conversation wasn't going any further. And again, he asked me to leave, and I said, hey, I have no problem getting out of your area. If that's what you want us to do, we'll leave, no issue. At that point, I asked him, what was the reason I had to leave there? And he said, again, you're interfering with my operation.
So this is important, right? I want y'all to keep this in mind, how they wanted to get this individual out of there because they were saying, quote unquote, he's interfering with the operation. Because based on some reports, they really don't have any business turning away help. Based on some of the reports that have been coming out, they don't have any. They better be taking all the help they can get.
I just need you to get out of the area. I said, sir, I don't know where you were trained at, but I know how my training is, and I'm not going to leave personnel behind. I'm going back to get my co-pilot. He said, if you turn around and go back up the mountain, you're going to be arrested. I said, well, sir, I'm going back to get my co-pilot. I don't know what to tell you. And he said, I'm letting you know.
Shout out to DeAndre. DeAndre said, Rob, have you seen Walls on Fox News yet? They asked him all about this. Did they? I know he was looking confused. I know he didn't know what to do. He's still happy he survived JD Vance. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to Jay. Yeah, I agree. Jay said they should have said your operation sucks. Facts. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah. And did you guys take a look at the community post that I posted about that lithium mine? You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all check that out. And real quick, shout out to everybody watching. I appreciate y'all. If y'all haven't hit that like button yet, do me a favor, hit that like button. Also, if you guys haven't shared the stream, take a moment and share the stream. And if you're not subscribed on Rumble or subscribed to the Discord, hit those links that are pinned in the chat.
No, and at that point, he waved for 2 law enforcement officers to come over and told me that again, if I go back up the mountain, I would be arrested.
He flew the 3-minute trip back, picked up his son, and left the woman's husband behind.
Sure, he was flooded with emotions and trying to rescue other people, and I just felt that it was best at the time to leave. So I did follow his instructions, and I had a conversation with the female victim before I left, apologized and explained, and she was standing there. She heard the whole conversation, and they were both very.
Hey, shout out to Kurt for being a 1-to-1 enforcer. Make sure y'all throw some 100s in the chat. We got the 1-to-1 ratio popping off. Appreciate y'all, man. That's what's good. I definitely appreciate it. Throw them 100s in the chat. Let's get it.
Very, very surprised, very upset. The husband, as I was leaving off of the side of the mountain, at that point, separated from his wife. He was upset. I can only imagine.
Sidham and his nearly 1,400 flight hours turned his chopper around and headed back to South Carolina, passing people waving for help along the way.
As I was actually leaving to go back to get my son, the original chief or captain that I spoke to, his crew and himself, they came back over and said, hey, man, we can't tell you to go get the victim. We can't even ask you to go get the victim, but we can tell you if you come back with the victim, we'll have you a designated landing spot, and they won't. We'll make sure they don't come over here.
So there was no flight restriction when you went in?
No flight restriction when I went in. It went in place 20 or 30 minutes after the confrontation with Mr.
You feel like that was coincidental, or do you think that was because of what happened?
I don't think it can be coincidental when there has not been one in place the day before doing rescue operations, the night of, the morning of, that took place after our altercation. I think there would have never been a TFR put in place had we not had that conversation. If I had to do it over again, I would have stopped and I would have rescued as many people until they decided they were going to arrest me.
Well, for now, we've chosen not to name that Lake Lure fire official because.
Yeah, that shout out to DeAndre. That post that I put on the community tab, there should be a link on the community tab that'll take you to the article that I screenshotted that from.
Communications in and out of that town are still difficult. We want to include his side in this story, and if and when he responds to our messages, we will include that. The good news is I saw a video of a Coast Guard helicopter landing in Lake Lure this morning, so hopefully some of those mountain rescues are underway today. From Pageland, Jody Barr, Queen City News.
All right, so there's that. All right, kind of crazy. Now, here's why that's important, right? That's important because of this. All right. Look at this. Look at this right here. FEMA abandons devastated North Carolina town residents because they can't drive around road closed sign. You turning away helicopters, but y'all can't drive around the road closed sign. Like that's that's crazy, man. Hey, again, how I don't know. All the and again, I want you guys to understand these kinds of terminal inadequacies, these types of terminal incompetencies. This is the reason why people so adamantly deflect and divert away from critiques of Kamala Harris when she's being directly critiqued for particular actions that she's involved with. Shout out to David Brown. What's good with you, bro? This is why. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's been bringing in supplies except civilians. All right, that's according to what they're saying here. All right. Residents of a tiny now this so you know you in the outback, you know you in the woods. This city is called Bat Cave. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you know. Yeah. Residents of a tiny North Carolina town called Bat Cave that was almost totally destroyed by Hurricane Helene is fending for themselves after FEMA told them that a road closed sign is an insurmountable obstacle for the agency to navigate. Well, if again, shout out to the world is correct, right? If a road closed sign tells you that you cannot get in there to operate or to help those people, you know that you're dealing with an incompetent agency. If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down. I mean, that right there, you shouldn't expect anything. Once they've said we can't drive around this town, you're doomed. You're on your own. At that point, understand you're on your own. Start doing what you got to do to take care of yourself. If you ask me, see, I'm not trying to be. That's how I operate. If I'm in a situation and I need to do something and I start saying things or giving off basic commands, if you say something crazy, I've immediately erased you from the environment. You're done. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm like, oh man, look, we got a grease fire over here. And then you be like, here, I got a bucket of water for you. You're done. If you survive, I'm not talking to you until we're out of the situation. We're done. Because I don't have time for that. I don't have time for you handing me a bucket of water during a grease fire. I need something to smother the fire with. I need foam. I need something. I need something that's going to work, not something that's going to make it worse. If your initial answer is you can't do it or something that's going to make it worse, stay out of my way. You know, I hate to say that. Stay out of my way. Get out of my way. Go sit down somewhere. You know what I'm saying? You're not helping anything. We'll all be dead dealing with you. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to be funny or not trying to again, you know, just the personality coming through. That is literally the exact way that I would deal with it. Anybody that knows me in real life can attest to that. We got a situation going on, I'm going to start saying some things. If it's not registering or if it's not connecting, get out of here. Go sit down somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Get out of the way, because if you can't help, then you've become a hazard. So just go on somewhere. You know what I'm saying? That's what's going on right here. And on top of it, they're not capable of getting beyond this road closed sign, but a helicopter that clearly is probably able to reach areas that a vehicle on the road can't reach, they're threatening to arrest and send those people back. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says FEMA called me and told me they wanted to inspect my house, then called me back and said they couldn't drive around the road closed sign. They weren't allowed. Local Chelsea Atkins, who is 38, told the Post. All right. If you drive by it, car for sure, it's not that bad. You just have to drive around the road closed sign. I explained to them. They said they couldn't. She said, recounting her maddening exchange with the embattled federal agency. Left to fend for themselves, Batcave residents banded together, opening the roads and starting the arduous work of cleanup and recovery. Residents told the Post that they don't need FEMA now, and at this point, they don't even want the disaster relief agency to come. And I get it. You know what I'm saying? I get it. I would be highly irritated. Shout out to Brooklyn Queen. What's good with it, Brooklyn Queen? I would be highly irritated. You know what I'm saying? While the sick and elderly residents of Batcave were airlifted to safety a week ago, those left behind have seen virtually no sign of government agencies, save for a handful of Louisiana State Police troopers, quote unquote, keeping an eye on everything, who locals say haven't done much of anything. Okay. The intermittent whir of military Chinook helicopters buzzing over the town serves as a reminder that people in the devastated west of the state are getting help, just not in Batcave. Here, apple orchard workers armed with chainsaws worked with a local grading contractor to clear the roadways well before the Department of Transportation arrived to help, although they were grateful for the assist when it finally arrived. The few remaining locals have scavenged building supplies to shore up homes teetering on the edge of the broad river, which is now 10 times wider than it was before Helene carved its path of destruction. Atkins, a health researcher originally from Buffalo, New York, said she thought she was going to die when the storm hit Batcave. She and her husband, Andy Wells, who was 40, sought shelter Friday morning in the foyer of a small white brick post office across Highway 64 with neighbors Kendall and her fiance, Curtis McCart, 58. It was wild, Atkins said. When floodwaters started to dulge their makeshift refuge, the displaced locals next made their way to empty houses on higher ground, trudging up the side of a mountain in a desperate attempt to reach safety. The first home they tried had a gas leak, and the ground beneath the porch of a second slipped out from under them. I mean, that's wild. Like, you just striking out. Like, look at that. The ground slipped out from under. That's what it looked like when the ground slipped out from under the house. Yeah, that's a great question. Shout out to Tedra. I wish I could tell you. Tedra said, so where's our tax dollars going? That is a great question. They need to sing some old Motown songs asking about that. Have you seen them? Have you seen them? Have you seen them? Seen them? Because I haven't. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Antithesis. Antithesis says, I bet if invaders were out there, responders would have found a way around those signs. I'm just saying, not only would they have found a way around those signs, but I bet you some money would have found its way there too. More than $750. Matter of fact, I bet you credit cards equipped with RFIDs and PayWave would have got down there somehow. Matter of fact, preloaded Apple iPhones with Cash App cards with cash already on them probably would have found their way down there. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says, at first, we thought we'd be fine waiting out the storm in the post office for a couple of hours, then walk back home. With every minute that went by, the situation got more and more dire, she said. The post office flooded, and that's when we realized stuff was really hitting the fan. Atkins says she's not usually frightened by weather, but admits at this point she genuinely feared for her life. I'm not very ruffled by nature. I really can handle a lot. But I looked at my neighbor and asked, are we going to die? Like, real talk. Are we going to die? She said, like, real talk. The next cabin group tried a screened-in porch and provided them with shelter they had sought. Atkins said FEMA called her to arrange an inspection of her house on the Broad River, rendered uninhabitable by the storm, but that they never showed up because the road was closed. The very same road the Post successfully traversed on its way to Batcave. The road is treacherous but navigatable. It's littered with downed power lines and whole sections have collapsed. One portion of Highway 9 is entirely washed away, forcing traffic to navigate a huge chasm through someone's front yard. FEMA hasn't been here, Atkins said. The Department of Transportation has been here, and random fire departments like Canopolis They were great, but nobody's bringing supplies except for civilians, she shared. So let me ask you guys this. When the government fails like this, right? When there's a failure that happens like this, how should the public deal with it? How should the public deal with it? Shout out to Patrick. Patrick says, this has always been FEMA's policy. They won't come if debris is in their path. They told me this when I lived in Florida and went through a hurricane. And that's wild. You would think that they would get some type of training for that. Yeah, facts. And shout out to DeAndre. DeAndre said those NGOs that are peculiarly placed all over the globe. Yeah, facts. And you know, what's the name of that? What's the name of that little cartel that we was talking about? What's the name of that cartel that we was talking about? Hold on real quick. I'm about to find out real quick. Let me see. What's their names? The Clan del Golfo. Yeah. Thank goodness wasn't no Clan del Golfo members down there. It would have really been a wrap. Yeah, I got to agree with Black Spider. Total failure. Total failure. So my question would be, who's responsible for this? How should they be held accountable? And if people are going to say this is not a reflection on Kamala Harris, what is her level of involvement? How is she not responsible for this? And if this is critiqued or if this is criticized, how would this be an unfair critique? Because it seems like fact-based critiques of Kamala Harris are unfair critiques. And my thing is, you know, the people that support Kamala Harris, they should be honest in their support. If she did something wrong or if there was a failure, if she's that good of a candidate, one failure is not going to make her, quote unquote, unelectable. Right? But here's the problem. She is that bad. And shout out to Patrick. Yeah, they'll say that it's misinfo. You know what I'm saying? Instead of actually addressing what's going on. So now here it says, at this late stage in the recovery effort, Atkins says there are concerns FEMA showing up at this point could do more harm than good. It's been a civilian-run operation since day one. You can't ask the authorities for help. They'll say you need to leave, she said, calling Batcave a country boy can survive kind of place. We're handling it. Leave it to us and we'll get it covered. Her neighbor, Curtis McCart, a retired Los Angeles Fire Department captain and paramedic, estimates a dozen houses along his stretch of the winding Highway 64 were washed away in the storm. The town itself has been ripped in half. A 15-foot segment of bridge connecting two halves of the town was destroyed. Though the gap is now spanned with pieces of sheet metal, it can't support a car's weight, forcing residents to traverse the span entirely on foot. The broad river was only 10 yards wide in front of the McCart's home before the hurricane. Now it's a 100-yard wide riverbed sown with trees, concrete slabs, twisted tin, and power lines with their transformers still connected. And these are like, this is what the damage looks like. That's crazy. Looks like a demolition crew came through there. We had huge 60 feet tall sycamores in front of the house, which must have been 100 and something years old, that are all gone. Because of their age, they must have been here in the 1916 flood, which I heard was 27 to 30 feet. This flood must have been worse. I heard this flood was 40 feet, he said. McCart hasn't seen anyone in Batcave wearing a FEMA uniform, and like Atkins, he worries about what will happen if they show up as he works to address the third floor of his home to stop the attic roof from toppling. At this point, I don't care if FEMA comes by. I don't want somebody to pull me out of here. I'm saying I'm working in an unsafe saying I'm working in an unsafe spot. I'm wondering if Big Brother is going to allow us to rebuild. Now, that's interesting, right? Because why would somebody ask that question, quote unquote, I wonder if Big Brother would allow us to build? Well, look at the community tab post that I just put up. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Jacoby. Jacoby says Kamala has more W privilege than a W person. I wouldn't disagree with that. You know what I'm saying? I definitely wouldn't disagree with that. Shout out to MoFax. MoFax says, where is the state and local government as well? This is a failure at all government levels. Yeah, facts. Absolutely. Shout out to DeAndre. DeAndre says, it's some crazy brainwash going on if someone can support this administration, actually even defend it. Yeah, I can't wait to see the defenses. I can't wait to see the defenses. Now, who is this? I think this is, I think this is ABC. If I'm not mistaken, ABC. Yeah, ABC says that there are misinformation being spread about this particular situation. We're gonna take a look at that. We're gonna take a look at that claim of misinformation on Undocumented tonight. All right. The last thing that we about to do is we're about to take a look at this video from Fox. All right. And in this video from Fox, they're accusing the Biden-Harris administration of mismanaging this crisis. Now, if you ask me, right, I don't know a crisis that has occurred during their administration that they have actually managed effectively or appropriately. I don't think that they've managed any crisis that's going on in the last 4 years effectively. You know what I'm saying? But they're focusing on this one for now. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to take a look at this and see what they're talking about.
It's too late. I mean, they took too long. It took them 5 days to get here. And I mean, it took 5 days for Biden to come here, and he didn't think we were worth coming down to see himself. He had to fly over on his way to Raleigh. It's disgraceful. They tell us what we need instead of listening to us. There's people that have lost everything, their home, their everything, priceless items that were thousands of dollars. And I'm not expecting her to give us thousands of dollars, but they can do more than that. I mean, I feel betrayed. I feel like we're not worth it to them.
But there's just a complete failure of weak leadership here in North Carolina, the federal government. And it takes my strong leadership in Florida to send us up here. If it wasn't for DeSantis sending the state guard special missions unit up here, this never even would have happened. But there's just no support here. There's no leadership.
Okay, enough already. Help Helene victims. That was North Carolina resident Jordan Lanning speaking to.
Now we got to bring it here, right? We got to ask these questions. Did anybody send anybody anywhere during Hurricane Katrina? I know they sent a bunch of people to jail. Just saying.
To Jesse Waters, also John Howard with the Florida National Guard Special Missions Unit. You just heard from them about their frustration over the Biden-Harris White House bad response to Hurricane Helene. Let's bring in National Border Patrol Council Vice President Chris Cabrera. Chris, thanks for your service to America. Okay, frustration over prioritizing, sending funds to illegal aliens over citizens where Helene victims are feeling abandoned. It's also border communities feeling abandoned, inner cities feeling abandoned by Biden-Harris. What do you make of the spending of $1 billion in FEMA funds on illegal aliens?
I'd like to say that I'm shocked by it, but unfortunately I'm not. I think this administration has their priorities out of whack, and it's unfortunate when you have people in some of these states like North Carolina that are really suffering right now, and there's no money left in the coffers for the United States citizen that's in need.
Yeah, I got to agree. Shout out to the specialist. The specialist said this just might be the nail in Kamami's coffin. If you guys agree with the specialist, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. Now, here goes my thing, right? What I'm interested in, not only am I interested in her defense of what's going on in this situation. I'm interested in the people who defend her and how they defend her from this. I want to see the logic that they use. I want to see the data, the information, the explanations. I want to see what they say. I want to see the deflection. If you ask me at this point, with this on public display, there's not really a reason why she should get a vote at all. You know what I mean? I don't understand. I don't understand how any vote can be justified for her. But we'll see. And it'll be all deflection. It'll be all deflection. I want to see what Joy Reid has to say about this. I want to see what Roland Martin has to say about this. All of the usual suspects. I want to see what they all say. And I want to see if they present legitimate arguments or if it's just nonsense. Because most of the time, it's just nonsense. It's just nonsense.
Okay, so you know what the thing is? They're spending FEMA funds on illegals. I mean, if you look at it this way, that's FEMA is a disaster agency. Is the Biden-Harris White House admitting the border is a disaster?
Yeah, even if they were to admit it was a disaster, I mean, the FEMA funds should be the last funds to go to illegal aliens. That's for home, disasters here. That whether it's a hurricane.
Shout out to Black Free Thinker. Black Free Thinker got a great point. Black Free Thinker said, "What is this Kamami mess? If she's not black, then how is she a mammy?" Yeah, that's facts. I ain't even think about that. That's a great point. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Patrick. Patrick said, "Rob, if you ask a lot of blacks, they'll defend it." I'm curious to see how. I want to see what the defense is. You know what I'm saying? I want to see what the defense is. I wouldn't disagree with you. I just want to know what are they gonna say? What are they gonna say? If I put it into a slot machine, you know what I'm saying? Will I get a jackpot?
A tornado or whatever the case may be, that those funds should be set aside just for American citizens.
Chris, this is a reality about the White House's open borders. About 13 million, including gotaways. We tracked about 1,700 terrorists in between the ports of entry, at all the borders, caught. People they've been leaving everyone else, all taxpayers on their own to deal with this and higher crime and higher taxes. We got a study showing the cost of illegal immigration is about $150 billion annually. That means everybody's state and local taxes go up. Swing state voters and taxpayers in the swing states, they pay about $15 billion of this. I mean, the swing states have seen a major increase in illegal aliens since 2021. We're talking like the triple digit increases. I mean,
shout out to Win Loser Rug. Win Loser Rug said, "It's crazy how much I've been agreeing with the stuff in this chat and this stream, bro." It's you know what I'm saying. Like, shout out to you, bro. I appreciate you, bro. Shout out to my man KO Kid Fit. Shout out to Patrick. Make sure y'all show Patrick some love. We definitely appreciate you contributing to the Fox shit.
He going along with the Fox shit. Don't touch me! I'm about to change on your ass. I'll beat your ass with my elbows, werewolf style.
Super chat with your elbows, werewolf style.
How do you think that we fund this organization, huh? We're not exactly the marching times.
Patrick says, "Rob, they're not gonna say anything. Just ignore it." Yeah, facts. Big facts. Oh, y'all know what time it is now. The specialist done it. The specialist done it. Specialist said, "I'll tell you what they'll say, bro. I had a conversation with this dude I consider my brother. I spoke about this very situation and how they crap on citizens in lieu of migrants, and he told me he needs to see more proof." Well, let me ask him this question. Is this enough proof?
In Springfield,
he ain't Donald Trump trying to grab him by the... Said it was some Haitians somewhere out in Springfield. Women doing cartwheels.
Have you seen Garfield?
Have you seen Snowball? This about to snowball. I'm about to go off. I can't let this go on. Miss me like an airball. Tell me when my cat is cough it up like a hairball. I gotta tell them if they even put the fingernail on Santa's little helper to turn them to hamburger helper. Somebody better help them, cause I'm going to jail for showing them fellas helter skelter. Usually I'm content, but if you touch my dog, then I'm turning into John Wick. I'm lit. Bird better drop it. If you touch my pet, then I'm pulling up like CrossFit.
They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cat.
It's a shame, it's a pity. Thought overseas where they said Hello Kitty, but it ain't there, it's right here in your city. When I turn my back, now the cat goes missing and where my peoples is at. Does anybody know where he flipping at? Cause I heard they putting claws on felines, I'm mad. And my cat disappeared just like Felix the cat. And got paid back. Thought she was a goner, but the cat came back. If you ain't a pussy cat, say drop that cat. Drop that cat. Drop that cat. Got paid back. Thought she was a goner, but the cat came back. If you ain't a pussy cat, say drop that cat. Drop that cat. Drop that cat.
They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. Eat the cat.
Drop that cat.
Shout out to the specialist, man. The specialist contributing to the fuck shit.
He going along with the fuck shit. Don't touch me! I'm about to change on your ass! I'll beat your ass with my elbows! Werewolf style!
Oh man, shout out to the specialist, man. I appreciate you, bro. Shout out to Miss Niecy. Miss Niecy played the song on loop. Man, I'm dead, man. That is hilarious, man. Shout out to Lehman Lucas, man. Lehman Lucas the one that sent me that. So make sure y'all show Lehman Lucas some love next time you know what I'm saying, be in the chat.
So when you see this, when you think of it this way, it's like it's a chaos at the border, but a free-for-all on the taxpayers inside each state.
Yeah, it defies logic. I mean, it's, the way this administration is thinking, it's just backward thinking all over the place. And it's unfortunate that some people won't even wake up to see this and they'll still vote Democrat, knowing that they're just, giving our taxpayer dollars away.
Chris Cabrera, thanks for your service working with the border to keep it safe. We appreciate you very much for joining us. Good to see you.
All right, so there's that. All right, so that's it, y'all. You know what I'm saying? More to come tonight, all right, on Undocumented. If you're not subscribed to Undocumented, take a moment real quick, subscribe to Undocumented. If the mods could put the link in the chat for Undocumented, I definitely appreciate it. I'm gonna be live on that channel tonight, going a little bit deeper into this, because as you guys can see, this ties directly into the migrant crisis as a result of misallocated funds. I just wanted to kind of touch on the dollar amounts over here, because the dollar amounts are ridiculous. All right, and we're gonna go a little bit deeper into what's being done versus what's not being done over there. Shout out to the stream sponsors. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys show the stream sponsors love, because as you guys know, without the stream sponsors, there is no streams. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Tedra. Make sure y'all show Tedra some love. Throw some flames, some radiation emoji, some ducks, membership emoji in the chat. Shout out to Kirk. Definitely appreciate you, bro. Shout out to Patrick. Definitely appreciate it, bro. And shout out to the specialist. I definitely appreciate it. So I will see you all later on tonight. Make sure that you guys watch all the way through after the music. If you didn't get a chance to hit the link that the mods put in, it'll take you right over there. And as always, ladies and gentlemen,